Good afternoon, boys and girls. Today we're going to be working on lesson 46. So touch the letters AW in part 1. The letters AW make the sound as in saw. What sound? Touch the letters AU. The letters AU also make the sound What sound? Your turn. Tell me the sound each combination makes. Touch the letters AW. What sound? Touch the letters AU. What sound? You're going to say words. You're going to say the sound for the underlined part and then read the word. First word, what sound? What word? La. Next word, what sound? What word? Hall. Next word, what sound? What word? Saw. Next word, what sound? What word? Claw. Look at column B, boys and girls. First word, what word? Awful. Next word, what word? Crawl. Next word, what word? Draw. Next word, what word? Fault. Now let's go ahead and look at part 2. Tri means 3. Touch the first word in column. That word is triceratops. What word? Triceratops. Touch the next word. What word? Tricycle. Everybody touch the next word. What word? Triangle. So let's go ahead and look at part 3. Let's see if you remember the meaning of those affixes. Touch the letters R-E. What's one meaning of re? Get ready. Again. Touch the letters U-N. What's one meaning of un? Get ready. Not. Touch the letters P-R-E. What's one meaning of pre? Get ready. Before. Touch the letters D-I-S. What's one meaning of dis? Get ready. Not. Let's go ahead and look at part 4, boys and girls. What's the underlined part? E. What word? Eastern. Next word. What's the underlined part? R. What word? Armor. Next word. What's the underlined part? Pre. What word? Prehistoric. Next word. What's the underlined part? Ow. What word? Snout. Next word. What's the underlined part? R. What word? Carnivorous. Next word. What's the underlined part? J. What word? Emerged. Next word. What's the underlined part? J. What word? Vegetable. Next word. What's the underlined part? X. What word? Extended. Next word. What's the underlined part? What word? Measure. Look at part 5. We're going to talk about what those words mean. Word number 1. What word? Grazing. Animals that are eating grass in a field are grazing. Touch word number 2. What word? Reptiles. Snakes and lizards are reptiles. Word number 3. What word? Mammal. A mammal is a warm-blooded creature that has hair. Touch word number 4. What word? Thrash. Thrash means move about violently. Word number 5. What word? Herd. A herd is a group of animals that live together. Touch word number 6. What word? Predator. A predator is an animal that kills other animals. Let's go ahead and look at part 6, boys and girls. First word. That word is ornithomimid. What word? Ornithomimid. Next word. Seen. Next word. Leopard. Next word. Occasional. Next word. Rhinoceros. Next word. territory. Next word, dinosaur. Next word, crocodiles. Next word, hippopotamus. Next word, watermelon. Next word, spine. Next word, adulthood. Next word, shoulders. Next word, glide. Next word, buried. Next word, incredible. Next word, fierce. Next word, wiggled. Next word, indicates. Next word, unbearable. Next word, full grown. Next word, shield. Let's go ahead and start with our story. Look at part 7, a prehistoric plan. The white hot sun beat down on the Great Plain. The plain was covered with grass and occasional trees, and you could see heat waves rising from the ground. The grazing animals moving slowly across the plain looked as if they were melting in the heat waves. The heat was almost unbearable, although the animals didn't seem to mind it. The temperature was more than 110 degrees. A few of the animals were mammals, but most were reptiles. From time to time, some flying reptiles would glide over the grazing animals, looking for a baby or a weak animal that could attack. Everywhere they were insects, some as big as your fist. If it weren't for the type of animals on the plain, the scene wouldn't look quite similar to one you might see in Eastern Africa today. Thousands of animals were grazing in herds, each herd moving in its own territory at its own pace, and each herd was taking its turn at the waterhole. Also, like today, there were predators on the plain. The predators today are carnivorous animals like lions and leopards. But back then, the predators on the plain were reptiles, including gigantic dinosaurs. One of the most incredible types of predators lived in a large swamp, 20 miles north of the plain. These predators looked like the crocodiles you might see in Africa today. They were different in one respect, however. Though today's crocodiles are only 10 feet long, the ones that were in the swamp when our story took place were as long as 50 feet. This means that they were longer than the line of 5 elephants. Their mouths were so big that a baby hippopotamus could probably fit inside. The ocean north of the Great Swamp also contained many fierce animals. Some of them were sharks that looked just like sharks you would see today. Others looked like large dinosaurs with flippers. Instead of legs, some of the fish you see today were in the ocean back then. The dogfish, the garfish. Several eggs were buried in the sand near a high cliff at the edge of the plain. One of the eggs was ready to hatch. It didn't look much like the plain. One of the eggs was ready to hatch. It didn't look much like the plain. Much like a chicken's egg. It was much bigger than any egg you have ever seen. In fact, it was probably bigger than a watermelon, and its shell was about half an inch thick. Suddenly, the egg wiggled and moved under the sand as the animal inside tried to get out. The animal's pushing made a crack in the shell, and as it pushed again, the crack became larger. The animal thrashed and kicked for over a minute before its head emerged from the shell. Its head looked like an armor shield with 3 horns, one at the end of its snout, and 2 larger horns on its brow, one above each eye. The armor plate of the skull was formed by thick bone, and the plate extended behind the head, covering the upper part of the animal's spine. This animal was also known as a triceratops. The tri in its name indicate that it has 3 horns. A triceratops was a dinosaur and one of the largest grazing animals on the plain. You could see many full-grown triceratops moving across the plain. They looked like tanks. Of the animals that are alive today, the one that looks most like a triceratops is the rhinoceros. However, a big rhinoceros would look like a tiny next to a triceratops. The triceratops that emerged from the egg already weighed 7 pounds. If none of the predators killed it before it reached adulthood, it would grow up to 20,000 pounds, the weight of several elephants, and it would measure more than 25 feet high at the shoulders. As an adult, it would eat more than 2,000 pounds of grass and other forms of vegetable matter each day. But growing up on the plain was not easy, and the chances of a triceratops reaching adulthood were pretty poor. When we're done, make sure you complete your assignment, workbook lesson 46.